You've got your way and I've got mine. As for the right way or the only way, that's as real as an adult who has their life completely sorted by the age of 30. It's no surprise that many people feel lonely when they're on their own these days. Even yourself thinks you're bad company. The relationship between an individual and society is one of the most fundamental aspects of existence. Society is the collection of regularities, customs, and ground rules govern human behavior. The individual can be thought of as the unpredictable variable within that system. Now that I think of it, it looks a whole lot like a dysfunctional marriage. The individual lives and acts within society. He is both a product and a disruptor of its rules. However, you must know that society exists to serve individuals, not the other way around. If you're feeling overwhelmed, just remember it's not you. It's everyone's fault for setting up this glorified circus. Whether anyone wants it or not, human life and society are like that inseparable couple who keep showing up at every gathering together. Man is biologically and psychologically equipped to live in groups. So essentially, a man is a social animal, but a sentient individual. The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. If you try it, you will be lonely often, and sometimes frightened, but no price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself. Nevertheless, a human being cannot live without association. Life is, to an enormous extent, a group life, hence the pressure to conform. The adult survival tactic. Conformity is often a safe zone people hide in to avoid facing themselves. The philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre called it bad faith, which is basically our knack for fooling ourselves into believing we're not free to make choices. Instead of embracing the freedom to act and face the consequences, we prefer to live in a cozy, self-imposed delusion, where we're just helpless pawns in the game of life. One example of bad faith that Sartre gives is that of a waiter who does his best to conform to everything that a waiter ought to be, pouring coffee with the precision of a surgeon. Sartre points out that in order to play act of being a waiter, the waiter must on some level be aware that he is not in fact a waiter, but a conscious human being who is deceiving himself that he is a waiter. Philosophers, I know. The lesson here is that whenever we take up a social function, we need to be careful not to confuse this borrowed identity with our own, unless of course you're hoping to tiptoe through life unnoticed. Our social function is often a convenience hiding place. To kill a man is to kill a man. It's not suddenly okay if you happen to be wearing a uniform. Man is condemned to be free, because once thrown into the world, he is responsible for everything he does. Nietzsche's concept of the herd mentality expands on this by highlighting how societal norms and values often suppress personal desires, compelling individuals to conform rather than embrace their true selves. For instance, a person who outwardly conforms to a safe career path despite a deep-seated passion for art is not only playing a role dictated by societal norms, but is also succumbing to the herd mentality that values uniformity over individuality, pretending that Excel sheets are just as thrilling as painting sunsets. Both Sartre and Nietzsche emphasize that authentic living requires resisting these pressures. Sartre by confronting self-deception and Nietzsche by giving societal expectations the middle finger. Together, they illustrate the profound difficulty of achieving genuine self-expression in a world that continuously molds individuals to fit predefined roles. I am alone in the midst of these happy, reasonable voices. All these creatures spend their time explaining, realizing happily that they agree with each other. In heaven's name, why is it so important to think the same things all together? Don't get me wrong, I love people. I'm not initiating an antisocial movement. That would just be way too much work. It wouldn't be fun if we all reacted the same way. We'd be predictable and boring. God made a world where there's always more than one way to view a situation. The whole thing started as a bit of self-reflection, really. A question to myself, am I okay with the fact that as my attitude and perspective shift, I'm unintentionally alienating certain people? The answer is kind of, because let's be honest, this change is only going to keep snowballing, probably until I croak. Take my school friends, for example. There was no big falling out, no dramatic unfriending, just the slow realization that we were becoming more like distant planets orbiting different suns. It wasn't personal, I just felt like a vegan at a barbecue. Then there's university. At first I made some close connections, but lately, I've noticed they've started treating me like I'm contagious. You know it's bad when you catch someone trying to avoid eye contact so hard. They'd rather stare at the floor than acknowledge your existence. And hey, I'm not bitter about it. Admittedly, I've gone out of my way to announce how comfortable I am being different. Like some kind of misfit. But here's the plot twist. Even though my intentions were pure, no belittling, no condescension, people still reacted like I just told them their favorite songs suck. Turns out standing out from the crowd is a great way to accidentally light a bridge or two on fire. But here's the thing. If you're truly ready to become something unique, someone you can actually be proud of, all of this fades into background noise. Sure, you'll probably feel like a lone wolf holding at the moon, but is it really that disastrous in the grand scheme of things? Fast forward 10 years, will you look back and think, wow, I survived some rough patches, but I'm glad I stuck to my guns? Or will you be sitting there lamenting the fact that you spent half your life trying to blend in, wondering why the hell you gave in to the opinions of people who were just sleepwalking through life themselves? At the end of the day, if becoming your own person means a few people drop off along the way, so be it. You can't please everyone, and frankly, why would you want to? Trying to make everyone happy is like trying to juggle knives while riding a unicycle. It's just a matter of time before you lose a finger. So yeah, friendships eventually fade anyways, but if that's the cost of being true to yourself, it's a bargain. Life's too short to spend it wearing a mask just to fit in with the crowd. In the end, it's better to be a little misunderstood than to be stuck living a life that doesn't feel like your own.